You are listening to the New American Media.
All right, we're back with Blake the Eccentric Walley. Blake can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday on his radio program. It's called Eccentric Perspective. You can hear it from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific by going to freedomizerradio.com and checking it out. And you can go on iTunes, search for Eccentric Perspective, and you can sign up for the podcast. Blake, what's going on with the Associated Press? Like, let's just start tearing into this one, because first it's, and I'm not saying chronologically other than our program. First, what we covered over here already was the IRS. Now we have the AP, and before we get to Benghazi again, what's the latest with the Associated Press? It's not quite a wiretap, but it's certainly digital snooping.
Yes, and there really isn't, I would say, anything current off the wire today with this. The big story today has been the IRS, and the Benghazi and the AP stories have, gone on the back burner for the moment here. One of the more recent ones I've got, the big story from yesterday, the newest breaking part, was, and you're speaking of somebody you mentioned in the earlier part of your broadcast, local talk, your Cleveland radio show guy, Hugh Hewitt.
Oh, yeah, Hugh Hewitt's awesome. I don't know if you ever listen to him. I catch him quasi-regularly out here in Los Angeles. He's great.
Oh, okay, yeah, I never heard of him until yesterday. But California Congressman, because we had Devin Nunes, made the claim yesterday about the Justice Department wiretapping the House of Representatives cloakroom. And so you had Congressman Devin Nunes on the Hugh Hewitt radio show yesterday talking about that. And Hewitt said, I don't trust the Department of Justice on this, referring to the subpoenas, the Justice Department, to obtain the AP's phone records. Do you, Congressman Nunes? Is that his name? He's one of your guys,
Nunez?
California there. Nunez?
Nunez?
Nunez. All right. It's, N-U-N-E-E-S. And he says, no, I absolutely do not, especially after this wiretapping incident, essentially on the House of Representatives. I don't think people are focusing on the right thing when they talk about going after the AP reporters. The big problem that I see is they actually tapped right where I'm sitting right now, the cloakroom. And then Hewitt was surprised. Wait a minute, this is news to me, he said. And he said the cloakroom is in the House of Representatives. Nunes repeated. So, that's kind of a big deal. So this looks like it might go beyond just the AP. And I know we were even kind of talking about the NSA earlier. And there's also been admissions. I forget exactly the source from last week on a video saying that basically they've basically been monitoring every American for the last 10 years, and that everything is stored. Now, I'm not 100% on that, but it looks like there's with this administration and the corruption and the amount of scandals, I guess comes along with that is paranoia. And, if they're, wiretapping these congressmen in their, in a place where they would think that you could have some security, how far does it go? I really don't know. But, when you're talking about a big development, I guess that would be it. So it's the fact that it's maybe extending beyond the AP, and we're not really sure how far it does go.
Yeah, the whole wiretapping thing starts to get complicated, but, thankfully we can get some straight answers from the White House. Here's a couple of remarks. I don't know how else to say. I'm just going to get right into it. I don't know what kind of remarks these are, but
we got the Jay Carney right now.
Yeah. This would be talking about the First Amendment and the right to the press. What kind of right does the press have to do investigative work? What phrase could I use? I don't know. Let's see if Jay Carney has anything to say about this AP wiretapping issue and how the president feels. And by the way, it's something not seen here in the previous press conference that Jay Carney was giving. He kept saying, "Well, if these situations occurred, if it's proven that this did happen, if this happened," and the reporters were saying, "Excuse me, it's been admitted to. There's no if. You keep saying if as if it's possible it didn't occur. It occurred. It's been admitted to. Well, if it's true, no, stop saying if. Like, I don't know. I couldn't even imagine being married to a lawyer or something. Where like you try to talk to him, and could you imagine being married to Jay Carney? Well, if I didn't take the trash out, honey, the trash came yesterday and it's overflowing. Right, sweetheart. That's what I'm saying. If I didn't take it out, which is still yet to be proven, we're just going to have to hash this thing out. I mean, if that's the case, then I'll obviously have to do a better job next time remembering to take out the trash. Sweetheart, the trash is right there and it's overflowing, and it's a day after trash pickup day. Well, right. If this pans out the way you're saying, I mean, could you? Anyway, here's Jay Carney talking.
The constant word games. Yeah, go ahead.
You've used this formulation about the president's support for unfettered investigative reporting a number of times.
In an unfettered way, an unfettered press to pursue in an unfettered way the ability of journalists in an unfettered way to pursue investigative journalism. Press, as a rule, needs to be to have an unfettered ability to pursue investigative journalism and be unfettered in that pursuit.
He has to know that a reporter can't be unfettered.
In an unfettered way.
Yeah, unfettered. Unfettered. We're not going to mess with them at all, except we're totally messing with them, Blake. Totally messing with them, the chilling effect.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, he's just... I don't know what... I mean, it's hilarious watching this last week. Just watching him protect the administration and just play word games and then he's using the word unfettered. Who uses the word unfettered? And how many times did he use it? Like 8 times in the same press conference.
And then what was the joke on Red Eye that talked about? Yes, unfeathered. I thought that was hilarious.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, how often do you use that in it? But Blake, talking to a larger point, I heard your radio shows from this week, and you were kind of flabbergasted. That was a phrase I used earlier in this program, I think right before I got you on the air, so you're not aware that I used flabbergasted. But
excellent.
You were discombobulated, if you will, or unfettered. Wait, or feathered. Wait, no, you were undiscombobulated. Wait, hold on. You were undiscombobulated, and you were verklempt. You were beside yourself,
Verklempt.
Blake.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
I'm a little verklempt. No, but you were saying on your broadcast, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because I'm usually so used to tearing into the mainstream media for not doing their job. I don't know what to say because they're actually doing it.
Yeah, it is weird because a lot of times I don't have a specific format for the show sometimes, but I do like to kind of start with Drudge and kind of get a full spectrum look at the media, but it's usually sometimes the alternative media that makes some of the really good points, and I use that against the mainstream media. But the mainstream media this week was actually doing its job and not pretending all these scandals aren't existing. So it was certainly a fun week to cover the news.
Absolutely, man. But I mean, I think what we have here, we got some Benghazi stuff. We got maybe this is the one.
Well, we do want to have we do want to see the AP or the Eric Holder just doesn't know.
Do you know why that?
I believe that is I think that is in the reference to the AP.
Okay, here we go.
Do you know why that was not done?
There are exceptions to that rule.
This is Eric Holder. And by the way, he's already been held in contempt once before, so consider your source.
I do not know, however, again, Mr. Chairman, I don't know. 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 That I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know whether or not. I just don't know. I don't know exactly how IRS is constructed. I don't know when the subpoena was issued. Well, I don't know precisely. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the specific questions. Now, again, I don't know what happened.
Well, either you know or you don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know when. I don't know. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
All right.
I did not know. I don't know what you all are going to ask me. I didn't know. I technically, I don't know. I don't know.
Blake, what has happened to our country? What in
Hey, at
hell has
least that's
happened?
on BuzzFeed. At least the media is picking it up, and we're going after this administration, because it's hilarious. I know, but it's like we've been screaming about this for years, and it's good to see the rest of the press catch on and to join in, because this is bad for everybody. We can't continue to let this corruption problem fester any longer, and this is just a joke. We can't get any answers out of this administration. We got 3 huge scandals brewing, and of course another one that Eric Holder is tied to, a 4th one that's still lingering and unresolved, is Fast and Furious, which, like you said earlier, has been held in contempt of court, and it took Obama to pass executive privilege to save him. And despite the firestorm of people, even in the liberal media, calling for Eric Holder to lose his job, Obama came out the next day and said and gave him a vote of confidence, basically, and said he's all good, not going anywhere.
Eric Holder, where do we know him from? Maybe in 1995 when he said this.
I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Wow, even adults.
I say we should just trust them. Let's give the Obama administration and Eric Holder all of the guns, and let's just go under Obamacare. Let's sweep these scandals under the rug. These are good people. We just let, and who cares if they're wiretapping us, because, if we don't have anything to hide, then there's nothing to worry about. These are good people, and maybe we should stop giving them such a hard time.
That's a good point. Maybe we should trust. That is a really good point. You know what? Here, let's further make that point about how we should trust these people.
The founders trusted us with this awesome authority. We should trust ourselves with it too. Because when we don't, when we turn away and get discouraged and cynical and abdicate that authority, we grant our silent consent to someone who will gladly claim it. And that's how we end up with lobbyists who set the agenda and policies detached from what middle-class families face every day. The well-connected who publicly demand that Washington stay out of their business and then whisper in government's ear for special treatment that you don't get. That's how a small minority of lawmakers get cover to defeat something the vast majority of their constituents want. That's how our political system gets consumed by small things, when we are a people called to do great things, like rebuild a middle class and reverse the rise of inequality and repair the deteriorating climate that threatens everything we plan to leave for our kids and our grandkids. Class of 2013, only you can ultimately break that cycle. Only you can make sure the democracy you inherit is as good as we know it can be. But it requires your dedicated and informed and engaged citizenship. And that citizenship is a harder, higher road to take, but it leads to a better place. 50 years ago, President Kennedy told the class of 1963 that our problems are man-made. Therefore, they can be solved by man. And man can be as big as he wants. We're blessed to live in the greatest nation on earth. But we can always be greater.
Okay, that all sounds great, Blake. Yeah, I mean,
does.
I
think we should give him another Nobel Peace Prize. Let's just do it. Like I said, second term. He's only been in there for a few months. Let's give him some time. I think this. I really think Obamacare is going to work out well with the IRS. I'm sure they'll work it out. They're doing an internal investigation anyway. The immigration thing, I think that's going to work out really well. That sounds like a great idea, too. And then, we got to go back to the gun control and pass these new background checks. And really, nobody needs assault rifles. And, there's nothing going on with the Department of Homeland Security. Everything's fine. We need more TSA to keep us safe, and more surveillance, I think, is in order. And then we're really going to turn this around. It's going to be a great new American century. as they say.
Well, if he's asking us to trust on one side, he continues talking about why we should trust. And that's where it gets interesting, Blake.
Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all our problems. Some of these same voices also do their best to gum up the works. They'll warn that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner.
Blake, is tyranny lurking just around the corner? Because I think the price of liberty is eternal vigilance against tyranny.
I think the tyranny was just speaking somewhere. All right,
Oh, hey now. Oh, here it is again in case you missed it.
The works. They'll warn that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner. You should reject these voices.
Yes, reject them.
Because what they suggest is that our brave and creative and unique experiment in self-rule is somehow just a sham with which we can't be trusted. We have never been a people who place all of our faith in government to solve our problems. We shouldn't want to. But we don't think the government is the source of all our problems either. Because we understand that this democracy is ours. And as citizens, we understand that it's not about what America can do for us, it's about what can be done by us together through the hard and frustrating but absolutely necessary work of self-government. And class of 2013, you have to be involved in that process.
Some of the comments from this. and that's one of your favorite things to do on your radio show over on Eccentric Perspective. You love getting to the comments section. Why is that? Why do you like that?
I think there's a lot of people that, you get thousands of people that make comments, and then you get people get to vote on the top comments, and so the cream rises to the top, and usually you end up with some pretty good comments at the end, and people's observations or people, calling BS on an article or what have you, or agreeing with it, or just saying interesting things. So, I do like to look at those kind of things. I think it's great. It's one of the greatest things they ever came out with was the ability for people to comment on articles, so they're not just, stuck there. Because I hate it when there's publications out there that print terribly biased, partisan garbage, and people aren't allowed to basically call them out on it. But anyway, a side issue. But it's good times.
Ray 1290 says Democrats are like religious people, except that they believe in an earthly redemption and that the likes of Obama can never do anything wrong. He's the most perfect man out there. Any of the non-believers of the Democratic Party are evil incarnate. Anyone who calls out on the Democrats is punished by political correctness or the IRS, character assassinations, or they're sent to the gulag. Tony says, tyranny? Nah. Young Bono 18 says, you should reject the voices that say tyranny is around the corner. Sounds just like something a tyrant would say. Devlin, listen to the voices that talk of tyranny that are in government. When you hear voices like that, reject those voices. We will not talk of conspiracy theories. Those are the voices that are full of tyranny. The people... I just basically he's basically just telling us to go back to sleep, sheep, is what Crybaby says, and that's kind of exactly what's going on. Nothing to see here, Move along, move along. Right. He turns into a Wiggum, and even when the press starts to turn on him. And you saw it for the first time, maybe ever, since Obama was immaculated, since he was ascended to this throne where he could rule ever so justly, to set right which once went wrong.
He didn't let the power get to his head at all.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, no, the power has not gone to his head at all. Excuse me, Marines. Excuse me. Yeah. I would like a Perrier, please. Perrier. No, the power has not gone to his head, clearly. But this might be the first time that the media has actually challenged him, has actually really gone after him. They've been his lapdogs this entire time, and they went, oh, gosh. It's like that...
I mean, there's still a few out there. I want to I can't make a big tweet about it because there's only 144 characters, but about the maybe the last jackal standing or something like that. I'm trying to figure out exactly who's still in the Obama corner, because I mean you're losing people like Charlie Rangel and Harry Reid and Chris Matthews even. I mean there's a lot of big names in the media, columnists and such that are falling away and starting to criticize. But you still got a few that are out there, and they just look incredibly silly and partisan and bought and paid for, if you will. And so I don't know. I'm kind of trying to put that together. The media matters, the raw story, the think progress. Even MSNBC is starting to fall apart. I mean, when you lose Chris Matthews, Joe Scarborough, I mean, it's starting to get pretty bad. So I mean, there's still a few. I'm kind of following them on Twitter just to see how ridiculous it gets. The Eric Bullerts and Ezra Kleins and Greg Sargents of the world, or the Marcos Mulitsas, or whatever his name is, of the Daily Kos, who names a publication after himself. It's getting pretty hysterical to watch some of these publications still continue to defend the president. But I mean, at what point do people jump ship, and who's going to be left at the end? That's what I'm curious about.
Martin Niemöller. When I say that, what do you think of, Blake? No, it's all right. It's not a quiz. Let me just Martin Niemöller. He was a prominent Protestant pastor who emerged as an outspoken public foe of Adolf Hitler, and he spent the last 7 years of Nazi rule in concentration camps. Niemöller is perhaps best remembered for this quotation. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And that is what the Associated Press wiretapping story did to the media. Thank God. And they better not let up, and they better not lay off, and they better not go back to sleep. Because that right there is the exact situation that the press just finally got a taste of. And these journalists damn well better put 1 + 1 together with the Tea Party story, with the Patriot story, with the IRS story. He's attacking people. He's going after people. Isn't that what a tyrant does? And if they're not there, wait until their family has their phones tapped. Wait till everything they do is under a microscope. Wait till they become the bad guys. Wait till they have the magnifying glass on them. Who will be left to speak up for them? If there's not an independent, unfettered press in this country, who's going to speak up against abuses? These guys have been sitting on their hands. They've been leaving their I don't even know how journalists write these days, if it's all recorded or if it's an iPad or if it's a scratch pad of notes or some combination. But they have just really been reading the press releases. They haven't been digging and doing the story. I hope to God they've woken up now, Blake. Do you think they actually did, or do you think it's temporary?
No comment.
You don't have a comment on whether you think that the press will stay awake or if they're going to go back to sleep. Let me rephrase it. What do you think is more? What do you think is more likely? Do you think we might get a week of outrage and then they're going to go back to their lapdog tactics, or do you think the press has literally been frightened by the AP story, connected the IRS story, and said, "Wait a minute, if we don't speak up now, who's going to speak up for us?"
I think some of them are going to be like that, and that's probably enough to turn the tide in this. And of course, we did mention earlier some great work by Jon Stewart to a normally very liberal audience. We're starting to see that, the tide is turning. I'm not with all of these new scandals, with potential, more whistleblowers coming forward, with who knows what else we got coming down the pipe. I'd like to believe that it's pretty much the end of the Obama administration, and including the press carrying water for him. Yes, the dam has broken. They're not going to contain this. Maybe they could think they could cover it for a week and go back to normal. I don't know if that can fly or not. Certainly they'll. I don't know to tell you, Brian. What do you think? Just out of curiosity.
I think that the independent media, the new American media,
right,
and I'm not just referring to us. I consider everybody who's outside of the scope of editors and producers telling them and censoring them. I think the new American media has stepped in to do the job that the mainstream dinosaur media just simply wasn't willing to do. And I think that as the voices from the dinosaur media continue to echo hollow, lacking critical thought, lacking integrity, lacking journalistic skill, lacking curiosity, lacking honesty, lacking that essential sheepdog kind of concept,
you know what? It's some good points, Brian. Because they're going to be themselves targets of everybody else in the media. They're an increasingly smaller and smaller group. That's why I was kind of joking about the last man standing or the last Obama jackal standing. If they're gonna protect the president after all these scandals, and it's hard to say because we don't really know exactly what's going to happen, and because they're just developing. I mean, they're still in the process of developing right now. So I mean, these are still going to probably drag out for a few months. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to look credible and act like the president's doing a good job in the wake of all of these scandals once they're totally unraveled. So, yeah, in that sense, I think there's going to be too much of an awakening. They're going to look really silly for trying to protect the president with all of this stuff going on. So, you know what? It's too early to say. You know, I can't tell everybody to get the champagne going and everything, but this might be. Yeah, I think the dam is broken and they can't put it back together again. I'd like to say that, but of course we'll see how this develops and what kind of tricks they'll try to pull. But like you said, I mean, when you're wiretapping your own allies, pretty much, and you're wiretapping the cloakroom on top of that. And we don't know exactly how much farther this goes, and then you're getting a bunch of BS from Jay Carney and Eric Holder. They're just making them look stupid because they were holding water for the administration for so long, and then what for Holder and Carney to make them look make them look stupid. So. You know what? It's a very complicated question, and it's hard for me to give you an answer on that. But the more we dig into this, it seems like this is the tide has turned, and but I mean this would be so unprecedented in history. It's hard to make that kind of a statement, I suppose.
Well,
go on the record, yeah.
It's been a great week if you've been frustrated with this administration for a long time because. This is really the opening salvo. Can I use that? It seems like This is finally the seriously, dude, what are you doing moment. This week has been the seriously, dude, what are you doing? You work for us. What in the world are you doing? This week, it's just complete incompetence, arrogance, and let's just face it. A lot of this stuff is criminal. A lot of this stuff is potentially illegal. Now, of course, if you run the courts, do you get to determine what's legal and what's not illegal? Maybe, maybe not. But this week, the water started overflowing. You know, the cracks in the dam, you can see it. It's getting intense up there, and you better evacuate if you're down below. And that's what a lot of people are saying. You know, as soon as you start turning up the heat and start cranking the screws, on these little guys, they're gonna explain where it came from. And it goes to the bosses, and where'd the bosses get it from? Their boss. Where'd they get it from? Their boss. Who's the first person that said it was a YouTube video in Benghazi? Tell me, who was Go back. Who was the very first person to say it? And where did that come from? Who told them to
Brian,
say that?
it takes at least 9 months to answer a question like that. I mean, I think you're being unreasonable on the timetable.
Gotcha. All right, let's do this. Let's come back. We'll wrap up with just a little quick hit on Benghazi. Give some of the updates. Blake Walley is our special guest as usual. He's kind of becoming a mainstay fixture over here. You can check out Blake on his homepage, Eccentric Perspective. You can follow him on Twitter. He's at Eccentric99. And Blake does his own radio show, of which I have been graciously asked to co-host with him many times. A lot of Mondays. If you sign up for the podcast, you could go back to some Mondays and check those out. But Blake is on every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific on freedomizerradio.com. Along with our buddy Dan Johnson from Panda, I believe, has a show over there now, People Against NDAA. And, go check him out over at freedomizerradio.com. Do us a favor, if you're not following us on Twitter, we're at American_media_. Follow us. Check out The New American Media. Do that search, The New American Media, on Facebook and like our page. And so you can share the content with others. We would greatly appreciate that. Subscribe to our youtube.com/The New American Media page. That'd be super cool. Getting up on 90,000 video views. Pretty nice, and we're just getting warmed up. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. We'll be right back on the other side. We're going to talk a little Benghazi, and we're going to kick off the weekend. Thanks for listening. I'm Brian Engelman.
You are listening to the New American Media.